All right, so here we are. We have our linked list continued. We have two class variables here, one to store data, just integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then we have another variable of type node, which is the same type as our class. And we do this because we want to be able to access any elements within this. Notice it's a public node. We have this print data method, which we're going to expand on in this video. And then we have another class underneath here. And this is where we start to build our linked list. Okay. And what we want to do is start to access these different elements in our node. Right now, our node is really not that complicated. So here's a single linked list. We are creating a node object, and we're just calling it first because we want it to be the first node in our list. And then what we want to check is our node empty? Well, if we call this isEmpty method when we start to use our linked list, it's just going to set our first node to null, which means we don't have anything within our linked list. Now, if we want to insert something into the first slot, we're going to push in some data, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever that integer is. We'll create a new node to put that data in. And so the way we do that is we do new node, and then we're going to access our data element from our class, and we'll assign it whatever that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that's being passed in. And then what we need to do is we have to assign our new node as our first node. What that means is we no longer have a new node, so we need to move to the next node and assign it to first. So what's happening here is when we make a new node, we set our new node next to first, it becomes the new element in our list because now our old element actually has a value in it. And then we set first equal to a new node. So if we want to delete a node, we want to copy the elements in our first node just as a backup. And then what we're going to do is we're going to shift the position from first to equal to next. So we've bypassed that. And then we just return that temp value. All right. So let's go ahead and expand on this. Now, what I'd like to do is instead of print data, let's rename this display list. And what we can do is we have this console.writeLine that prints out the data. But what we want to do is we want to go through our list as a whole from the first element to the last element. So actually, let's just name this. Let's just say from first to last element. So let's go ahead and make a new node, and we're going to call it current. So this is our current node, and we're going to make that equal to the first node. So what that does is um, by making current equal to the first node, current is actually checking from the very first element in our list. Now what I'd like to do is take this display list out of here. So I'm going to hit Control X, and I'm just going to paste it underneath or above my empty here. And so what you'll get is now we can access that first element. I'm not really concerned about data at this point. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to type while and then tab. So that'll auto-populate my while list here. So what we can do is say if our current node is not empty or not null, so current is not equal to null, we want to do something within here. All right, so let's go ahead and make a display node method. So this will display list, and then we want to make another method to display the individual elements. Actually, let me shrink this down. So public void display node. What we can say here is we can say current Actually, let's put this up here in our actual node class, and that way we can really compartmentalize this. So in our node class, we can actually just keep the display node function here. So we'll just do console write line. And we could say what is stored in our current node. So I guess we could have just kept that up there, but just renamed it or something. And then grab our data from here. Because this is the data that's stored in our current node. Let's make sure we close it up. So because it's an element, current is part of current display node. So what it'll do is it'll display whatever the current node is. Space this out a little bit. I'm going to actually pause it, add a space after each time it runs, console.writeLine. So what this will do is just by having this, it'll space it out every time it runs. And then what we can do is say current.next. We'll set current equal to current.next. So current equals current.next. So what it'll do is it'll keep going until we hit a null spot in our code. All right, let's look at a way to insert a node at the end. So we have our is empty is first, insert first, delete node. So what we'll do in between these two is we'll just make a, let's go ahead and just hit Control D on this one. And I'm going to rename this from instead of insert first to insert last. And let's expand this. And I'm going to gut this public void insert last. And ooh, looks like if I select that and I hit Control D, there we go, that's what we want. Okay, so let's hide this and expand this one and call this insert last. And delete these guys. Save that. So node equals current, node current equals first. And what we want to do is another while loop to loop through this until we reach the end of our list. So we can say while current dot next is not equal to null, we set current equal to current dot next. So essentially what we're doing is we're just sort of we're looping through this until we hit the end point, and then we need to append our data to the end of that. So we said, so we want to create a new node. And we want to set its data to whatever the data is being passed in. So, but we got to make sure that we specify new node.data equals the data being passed in. Now that we have this new node with data in it, we want to go to current.next, which is the last element, and make that equal to new node. So now we've appended that new node to the end of our current, what's it called, our current linked list. All right, let's go ahead and test this out. So I'm going to shrink all this good stuff. We have our linked list, we have our class node. Here's our main func method. our main where we run all of our good stuff. So I can just go single linked list, and I'll just name this SLL equals a new element of our single linked list. And remember, we have all this cool stuff. So let's go through this. So we have our display list here within our display list method. And let's go through, find our insert. So here we have our insert first. Let's test that to see if that works. So down here, I'm going to go SLL dot insert first. Remember, our whole thing takes a bunch of integers, so I'm going to insert 18. Let's go ahead and space this out. Okay. And then let's display what's inside that node dot display list. All right, I'm going to hit F5. And what I might want to do to kind of pause this out a little bit is, because it's going pretty quickly, is in my display list here, we have our display node, console.write. I might just do console.read to really pause it. So console.read line. And I'm going to actually probably throw one. Let's save that. Data. Okay, let's try that. So F5. Here we go. From first to last element, what is stored in our current node? 18. Okay. Let's go ahead and duplicate this a bunch of times. So I'm just going to hit Control D and just type in a bunch of values. And then fin F5. You can see we print out all the elements in our linked list. So if we want to insert, remember we did some cool stuff. So insert first. Let's go ahead and display list, and then let's do SLL dot, I don't know, delete node, and let's delete this node here, and then redisplay our list. Now, mind you, oops, we get an error. Actually, let's go ahead and um, uh, actually, before we delete a node, I want to enter the last one, and then we'll delete it, something like that. Um, so here's insert last. So let's try that. So we'll display our list, delete node, and what's going on here? There we go. Okay. Insert last, and we'll do some weird number like all zeros. All right, let's run this. It looks like, let's try that again. Let's get rid of this delete node for a second. And well, actually, let's do that. So let's delete node and then let's display our list. That seems to be the biggest issue I have. And then after this, we'll end this video. And then in the next one, we'll take a look at some of the other features. Oh, we never inserted a first after we deleted the whole node. So let's try that again. So let's insert 18 again. We'll make it a 19. There we go. This might make better sense. There we go. Insert, and we'll make this a 19. And then let's see if we can create our node and then delete it. There we go. So from the first to the last, we insert this, and then we display our list. Okay, what I was doing that was wrong was I forgot to hit enter. So I'm gonna hit enter again, and you can see here when we go to we do our initial list, so it's pushing them in 18, 155 all the way through, and then we displayed that list, and then we deleted the last node, right? So once we deleted that node, and then we inserted this 19 in the first slot, right? And then what is stored in our current node? So insert last 000, and then we display our list. So you can see how that's running around, right?